Hi, my name is Nishchal Shrestha and my Unity ID is nshrest, and in this video I'm going to demo Vagrant, a tool that allows you to create and configure virtual machines, and using Git to form a basic pipeline for software engineering projects. So before you start using Vagrant, you'll of course want to download Vagrant onto your system. You'll also want to install a virtual machine provider. VirtualBox is the recommended virtual machine provider, and that's what we'll use in this demo as well. So the first command that you'll want to learn about is vagrant init. And what this command does is it allows you to create a configuration file for the virtual machine. And let's say we want to create a Ubuntu machine here. Um, Once you execute that, it'll tell you that a vagrant file has been created. And as you can see in our folder that there is a vagrant file. And this is sort of what it looks like. And you can see that you can do a whole bunch of configuration for the virtual machine here. And we'll talk about, a little bit later, we'll talk about how we can form our own private network as well as syncing folders. But for now, let's just get this running. So the next command that you'll want to learn about is vagrant up. And what this does is it actually instantiates that virtual machine according to that configuration file that you just made. And it's going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to fast forward through this. All right, now that we have our virtual machine set up, finally the next command that you want to learn about is vagrant SSH, and this allows us to SSH into that virtual machine that we've just created. And there we are. We're in the Ubuntu virtual machine right now, and you can see that we're in the home directory. So let's say that you wanted to form a private network just between your host machine, which is your own computer, and then the virtual machine. There's an easy way to do this. All you have to do is open up the Vagrant file and look for the line that has the config.vm.network, private network, and the IP address. All you need to do is comment this out, and this will allow us to have a private network between our virtual machine and the host machine. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and what you'll need to remember is that any change you make to this configuration file, you'll have to reload your virtual machine in order to take effect. So the command reload is going to help you with that. So now I'm going to quickly go into the directory where the project resides. And here I'm going to use a command npm install. Npm is a JavaScript package manager that will install all the packages that we need for this very simple web server. We don't need very much for this one. All that we require is a tool called Express, which is a web framework that helps us write web applications in a much easier way, and a tool called Forever, which will help us run the script indefinitely or stop it. So I'm going to go ahead and execute npm install. It's going to install all the packages that it needs. And there we have it. Now, if you ls in this directory, you'll see that we have a new directory called node modules, which contains all of the packages that we need to run this application. So now that we've fulfilled all the dependencies for this web application, we can safely run it. However, let's take a quick look at what this application does. So all it does is prints out the message hi there. And the way we test this is we go to the private network IP address that we set in the Vagrant file and to the specific port number 3000, and we should see a hi there in the browser. So normally when you run a node application, you would do something like node and then the JavaScript file that has the application logic. And this would continuously run the server, and we can go ahead and take a look, and we see that the server does work, and we see the hi there message printed. But this isn't very ideal, because what if you want to exit out of this virtual machine but still have that server running? So if we were to exit straight away, you can see that the server's not going to work. Well, we get around this with this tool called Forever, which is a command line interface tool that allows us to run a script long term. So it'll keep running in the background as a process, and even if the virtual machine needs to be exited, since the virtual machine is still running in the background, that server will still run. So the way we run this is with npm run forever, and we get the message that it's running this index.js file forever until we choose to stop the virtual machine, basically. So let's exit the virtual machine and see if this still works. And indeed, the server is still running even if we're not actively using the virtual machine currently. So this starts to form a basic pipeline of running an application on the server indefinitely. until you need to manually close it. So suppose you want to stop your web server with a custom script. An easy way of doing that with npm is simply adding in a custom script in your package.json file. So let's go ahead and open up that package.json file that specifies different things about our application. You can see that there's a scripts section here, and we can actually add in a command. We'll say stop, and all that it will do is call the forever stop all, so that we don't have to type all that now. We can just type in stop with npm. So we're going to save that. And as you can see right now, the application is running. So now let's try our new command, npm run stop. And as you can see, it executed the forever stop all and printed out some information about the stopped processes. And now if we go back here and try to reload, you can see that the server has stopped. Now let's do something a little bit different, where let's run our script first, npm, and we do that with forever. Okay, and let's make sure it's running. Cool. Now let's just change the message so we can make sure that things are actually working. And I'm just going to change this quickly to hi there fella. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to run our custom script, run stop, and then I'm going to run forever again. And now if we check back here, as you can see, the code has been updated and our message has been updated as well. So we've talked about Vagrant and how it allows us to quickly create and configure virtual machines, create a private network that we can run web servers on. But what if you want to edit files on your host machine but still have the changes reflect on the virtual machine? Well, there's an easy way of doing this, and Vagrant offers us this configuration called synced folder. And what this allows us to do is Vagrant syncs up the folder in our host machine with the same folder that will be created if it doesn't exist in the virtual machine. And so what this allows us is a way to work on the files on our host machine and still have the changes reflect on the virtual machine. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, you're going to have to comment out this synced folder setting, and the first argument that it takes is your host machine folder's path name. So let's say the path name is going to be the current directory that I'm in right now. And copy that, and then let's say the directory that it's going to be in the virtual machine is just going to be Vagrant, home Vagrant, and we're going to save that. We're going to have to do one other thing to make this work. The virtual machine is going to try to use its own DNS, but what we actually want is for it to use our host DNS. So we have to add in this little snippet here that will fix that issue for us. So I've gone ahead and typed this all out. But I'm going to save it, and then what I'm going to do is remember that we just made a change on the configuration file, so we're going to have to reload our virtual machine. Cool, now that our virtual machine has been reloaded, we have successfully synced our host machines folder with the guest machines folder, but we don't know that quite for sure yet. And so what I've done is I have two folders in my current directory pipeline called app and deploy. And what we should expect when we SSH into our virtual machine is that these two same folders would show up in our home directory as I've set it in the Vagrant file. So why don't we go ahead and see whether that's the case or not. And so we're in our home directory right now, and we're going to ls, and indeed we do see our app and deploy folders in here. So we have successfully synced the folders. But to test that this is actually working, what I've done is I've opened up the app folder in my text editor, which just has a simple message here. And what we can do is check in the guest machine that we see the same message here. So suppose I want to make a change from the guest machine now, and we'll just change the host to be guest, and we'll save that and exit. And take a look at what happens here. See, the change has immediately been reflected on the host machine's file test. So we have successfully synced the two folders together with the guest machine's folders, and this allows us to keep working on our host machine and still be able to use the resources of the virtual machine.